right, today is another Worthy Bite. Wanted to just, all right, your Worthy Bite for today is don't be afraid to course correct. Sometimes you might find yourself going down a path that is no longer working for you, no longer serving you. Course correct. Sometimes we get off our intended path or take detours along the way, but once we know that something is not working for you in the way that you wanted to, or you just feel like this can't be it, then course correct. Research shows that pilots course correct 94% of the time. So from keeping us from either going off into space or plummeting into the ground, pilots do this 94% of the time, that they're having to course correct to ensure that their plane stays on the intended path. So it should really be no different for us as people, that when we need to course correct, or we see that something is a bit off, or things are going in a direction that is not quite where we need it to be, whether that is relationships, career, just however you're feeling personally in yourself, course correct. Make the corrections that you need to in order to start going down the path in which is going to make the most sense for you. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to come with some turbulence, because we know that when we're in flight, there's turbulence that takes place, right? Those are the bumps and the craziness that might take place because, as you're course correcting, sometimes it means that you're going in the opposite direction of what the natural flow of things are. And that natural flow may not be what is right or best for you. That could look like working a 9-to-5 job. Nothing wrong with it, but if you know that in your spirit you have more of an entrepreneurial spirit, and you know that you need to start a business, or even if it's like that relationship where it's just like everything seems to be going just fine, but you know that there's something that's not quite right, or that just is really like in your gut that is telling you something's not right, you start to feel the turbulence of needing to course correct, to get back on course, right? So do what needs to get done in order to course correct. We don't have to stay in the places or positions that we find ourselves in. And sometimes we find ourselves in places. Sometimes we put ourselves in places. So that is sometimes intended and unintended consequences of decisions that we make. And that's just kind of, I think, par of the course, right? My point, though, is do not overstay your time in a place that was only meant for you to be for a season. So as soon as you realize that it's time, sometimes it might take you a minute to finally make the decision of letting go of something. Someone asked the question, I remember, of like, what's harder, letting go of something or moving on? And to me, it was the letting go, because it's everything that comes before what is needed to make a decision to separate or to part ways or to move or to go on to the next thing. It is the letting go. And because really what you're doing is you're letting go of maybe your dreams that were related to that particular things, the hopes that you had for that particular thing, but only to realize that it is not serving you in the way that you need to be served, or that you want to see yourself moving in a direction, right? So don't stay longer than you need to when a season is actually done. So I remember hearing something from a pastor that said that seasons aren't governed by clocks and calendars, but seasons are governed by revelation and truth. What does that mean? That means that when we get revelation, we get clarity, we get truth about something's not quite right, or I don't really think this is really for me, or it was a gut check, that's your season change. It's time to course correct at that point. Because once that truth hits, it's probably time for you to find your way out and onto the path that you were supposed to be on. Build where you belong. So do what's needed to do to course correct.